Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of FRR Recap. Unfortunately, this week we do not have the longer episode that I had originally planned for us to come back with because one of our hosts has been off ill, unfortunately, for the week. So, and he's also the league's commentator. So, unfortunately, there was no stream for Tier 1. However, this week both tiers went racing around Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, which is quite a demanding circuit at times with the medium and high speed corners. Very similar to France, we see a lot of spins, and due to some of the walls being quite close, we sometimes see a lot of DNFs. This week was one of those weeks. We saw a lot of DNFs across both tiers, but a staggering amount for Tier 1 this week. As I said, no stream for Tier 1 this week, so I'm just going to go over what I know happened in qualifying and the race. For qualifying, I'm just going to go over the order, and then for the race, I'll go over what I know what happened. So during qualifying, PWI Vaste topped the times once again, unfortunately dropping down to reserve this season as he's started a new job and he's really busy. But once again, showing his speed around Spain, qualifying a tenth and 1.3 tenths in front of his closest rival, which was Tropical. Tropical coming back this season, showing some real pace. Quite a bad qualifying for Stocky, qualifying all the way down in 6th, with his teammate Raza qualifying in 8th. Not the best from the Ferrari duo, but still reasonably well. There was only two disqualifications during qualifying. That was Crazy Griefer and Ranga. I don't actually know what happened. It's probably something small, like them trying to keep out of the way on the pit straight of faster cars. During the race, there was, I believe, 2 safety cars and 2 VSCs. A lot of DNFs. In total, there were 1, 2, 3. I think there were 8 DNFs. Most we normally see 2 or 3, not normally 8, but it is that sort of track. The finishing order from last to first, you had Henkaz was the first to retire, Ranga, Chris Towns 01, who makes his return after a long break, Crazy Griefer, Brad, James, Scruffy Dub, Filthy Scrubber Dub, and then that's all the people that DNF'd. You then go into R33, RR3 Chartman, you just missed out on the points. Raza and Stocky, a really bad weekend from the Ferrari duo, qualifying 6th and 8th. But in the race, dropping even further down, P9 for Stocky. Considering he's won the first 2 rounds of the season, the pace just wasn't there around Spain. A bit of an off day from who was the championship leader. Unfortunately, he's lost the lead of the championship now. Ivaste, after his triumph in qualifying, only finished P8. Not the best weekend from him. RS40C in 7th. Spencer 10 in 6th. Shaq in 5th. Weeksy in 4. Last week's interviewee. Quite a good weekend from him. As he said in his interview, he's going to be pushing for them top 3 finishes, top 5 finishes, just trying to get any podiums. Unfortunately, just missing out on the podium this weekend. You then had AMS Popke, Hungry Throne once again up there in P2, showing his speed. As we said before, he's really found his speed again this season. He's doing really well. But then Tropical, the man that qualified P2, managed to keep it going and take the win by a huge margin. He took the win by 12 seconds, which is absolutely brilliant. Once again, showing his long-term pace. That there were some massive gaps down the field. The Ferrari duo, Stocky finished 47 seconds behind the leader, but as I said, not the best weekend from him. That's all for Tier 1. as I said, no stream, unfortunately. Our commentator was ill, so it's just a very, very brief recap. Next, we're going to head into an interview with last week's Tier 2 winner around Circuit Paul Ricard, TTVLazeJack. So this week we have your Tier 2 France race winner, TTVLazeJack. Welcome to the show. So, I mean, we're just going to dive straight into the questions that I've got here. Oh, that's the wrong channel. Where is it? There. So, first of all, how does it feel to get your first race win in FRR?
It feels nice. I know I wasn't too good at the back end of last season, and I thought I needed to prove myself, and I think that race win did it perfectly.
Well, I mean, you say you weren't too good. Not too good was P5s and P6s. That's still pretty good, you know, to still, especially with some of the tracks we had at the end of the season, to keep it out of the wall. I think in Singapore you got podium, so you know that's.
I did.
You know that's.
But I was winning the race by 5 seconds on the last 3 laps, but smub.
Yeah, I mean, bad luck. Oh, excuse me, bad luck there. One sec. Singapore. That's qualifying. Yeah, P2 in Singapore.
Yeah.
P2 in Brazil.
What, qualifying?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. Yeah, in the race in Brazil you were no P2 finish? No.
No, I was in the DNF.
Oh no, yeah, DNF P14. But then another P2 in Abu Dhabi. So you're not too bad was 2 P2s and a DNF.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good track record. You know that it was only a matter of time, and then this season it was the second race, but the first race you finished
7th.
Well, that's still not bad. That's still a points finish, especially with the higher numbers that we had. You know, there could have been talent come in that could have sort of pushed you down the order, but to still score points was good. So yeah, it's definitely been a good start to FRR for you. You know, to get a win within, I think, what was it, your first 5 races or something on your 5th race.
Yeah, that's good.
It's pretty good. What made you choose FRR? You know, you've only been there 5-6 races at this point, but we have a lot of people join and leave after a race or just before their first race, whatever. What so far has made you commit to FRR as a league?
Well, basically, when I joined FRR, I only just got back into league racing and just started playing again. And I thought, let's have a go. I joined on the day of the Singapore, and I think I had my good race. I liked the drivers; they weren't dirty anyway, and yeah, it's been good ever since.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is one thing we do have. I mean, we sometimes have a lot of instance, but sometimes that's track dependent. But yeah, we do try and keep our drivers nice and clean. You know, we have consistent stewards that, you know, across the season will give the same penalty for the same sort of incident. So it tends to make people think. So based off the back of that, what have you thought of FRR so far? Obviously, you said the drivers are clean and whatever, but the server and the league as a whole, what have you thought?
I think it is probably the best league I've been in. There's people always there. to like help you on your way, I think. And as soon as I joined, as long as you basically like talk, they'll jump you right into a league and get you racing, which for some leagues it takes weeks and months, but that's what I like about this.
Yeah, we try and get people, whether it's a reserve seat or a full time seat, as soon as possible, so that they actually get to do what they came here to do. They don't just have to sit about for the next season or for a seat to open up or something.
Yeah.
It's quite good in that respect. What
Yeah.
in your opinion, what do you think it takes to compete at the top of tier 2?
I think it's just consistency. From the races I've been in, there's been a lot of spins, including myself. And I think whoever just doesn't spin the least or doesn't get the amount of penalties will win. And that's what happened to me in France.
Well, it is the consistency, but you were quite quick at France, and it tends to be a track that a fair amount of people spin from the corners, where it sort of dips down, especially. I think it's seen. It dips down a little bit, and it's quite easy to spin if you just have that tiny bit too much throttle or whatever.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So obviously we're in our second season of F1 22 now, but what do
Yeah.
you think? Or sorry, um, did you do much racing in F1 21 or previous games?
I did. I started at F1 2020. I wasn't too good, was on controller. And 2021 was the game that really pushed my potential on controller. But then, just before F1 2022, I jumped from controller to wheel. And I think wheel is such a much better experience. As soon as I joined this league, it just helped me know.
Yeah. So, but based off the back of that, oh sorry, based off the back of that, how have you found this generation of cars so far, and what has been the biggest thing to get used to?
Biggest thing to get used to is probably the setups, especially as I think it was a 1.06 and 0.07 patch really threw everyone off their game. And just getting the temperature of the obviously tyres right and just learning how to drive no traction control, which helps a bunch in this new F1 game.
Final question that I've got today then is, what, if you have any, what are your other hobbies outside of league racing and Formula One?
Uh, Not a lot really. I'll probably mostly every day go on a bit of F1, practice for the next race, and play a bit of football with here and there. But other than that, not a lot.
Well, that's, as time goes on, we're going to see how much of the server is purely F1 based, and how much, like I think Stocky said in his interview, that it tends to be most people's sort of second game or something. It's not the one they play mainly. But I disagree with that personally. Racing
Yeah,
get, well, especially with the storage of Xboxes now and the size of games. I can only hold, like, I think 4 games on mine, because games are like so big. So all of mine are just racing games.
yeah.
It's fun, but that's if you've got a true passion for it. Not everybody does. But thank you for your time this evening. It's been brilliant to have you on the show. Hopefully you can come back in the future. Maybe we're interviewing a tier 2 or a tier 1 champion one day.
Maybe. Probably not tier 1.
You never know. So this week, Tier 2 went around Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, just the same as Tier 1 did. Once again, not the best race for Tier 2. A lot of DNFs, just like Tier 1. Quite a few spins, quite a few DNFs. There was a few safety cars, a few VSCs. Some people got very unlucky. Notable mention would be Wekaz and Bad Boy. Wekaz lost the car going around the final turn and hit into the wall and unfortunately retired. I think that was about halfway through the race. And Bad Boy, I think it was about lap 6, span out of turn 8, I believe it is. Span out of turn. Yeah, Bad Boy span out of turn 9, sorry. Span out of turn 9, hit the wall, incredibly unlucky, the first retiree. As I said, a lot of retirees across both tiers. We had the same amount in Tier 2 that Tier 1 had. We had 8, but unfortunately our grid was slightly smaller this week. A few people were busy, so slightly less amount of people on the grid, but just as chaotic as Tier 1. Finishing order start from last to first. Bad Boy first retired, Thomas, Do You Vibe, Z Dario G, Adam 4N16, Wekaz, JL 04, TTVLazeJack, last week's winner, DNF from the race. Just Spain, not his track. Spain is not many people's track. Some people are really good around Spain. It's all dependent on whether or not you're good in medium and high speed corners, which unfortunately a fair amount of Tier 2 aren't, which we're going to struggle in the coming races. You know, we've got Brazil, that was very chaotic last season. We then got Japan, which could be interesting. You know, Japan's coming back after a fair amount of time off the calendar. I think we're going to see a lot of spins. Maybe not so many DNFs, because the sort of turns that we would normally see spins at maybe aren't as close to the wall as you'd think. But never say never. We could still see a fair amount of retirements. We hope not. You know, we hope to have as many people finish the race as possible, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. Ranga was P7, the first to finish. Sorry, the last to finish. So you had Ranga in P7, Brewmaster in P6. Really unfortunate race from Brewmaster. He did really well, but just got really unlucky. He was leading the race for quite a while, but I think either he had to pit or he span. Just got, I think it might have been his span. Got really unlucky. You know, could have been on for a win. Brewmaster's always had great pace in Tier 2. The last season, actually, it wasn't his best race. Spain in Tier 1, Season 1, Spain, he did very similar to Wekaz, just span out of the final corner and hit the wall. But this season, he managed to keep it going. Unfortunately, it was only 6th, but still a good showing from Brewmaster on his return to Tier 2. We then had Fixable, Rhyme and Night Owl, the Aston Martin duo finishing 4th and 5th. Tom Lock in 3rd, yet another podium for Tom Lock. Brilliant performance. He seemed to have found his pace again. Spain was always a strong track for Tom. I think last season he came 2nd, or he might have even won the race. You know, brilliant race from Tom. As always, he seems to find little pockets of pace and then seems to carry it on round to round. Brazil should be another strong one for him. RNG Merritt, last season's championship winner, finishing P2. Hasn't had the best start to the season, but is still doing really well. And for his debut win in FRR, you had ex-Joshi IC, my Williams teammate. Brilliant drive from him. Unfortunately, it wasn't a double point score for the team, but congratulations. A brilliant win, you know, fending off last season's champion and fending off Tom Lock. Absolutely brilliant. He only won by 2.5 tenths, which is just amazing. He was able to keep RNG Merritt behind to get his maiden win, kept out of issues this time round. Didn't get any penalties. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations, mate. You deserve it. It's been a long time coming. You've got the pace. It's just keeping it all throughout the race and staying out of trouble. Well done. So that's all for Tier 2 this week. And at the end of that, that also marks that's it. That's it for this week's episode. As I said at the start, unfortunately, incredibly short video this week. Once again, we'll still be sticking with still images, but as it's so short, it's not the end of the world. Hopefully, I said this last week, hopefully we can have the full crew back for episode 4, where we head to our first sprint weekend around Brazil. It's definitely going to be interesting. Hopefully we can have the full team back. Everybody be back up and running. Nobody will be ill anymore. We can have streams for both races. Be brilliant. It'll be the first time it's happened since Silverstone. We've had two rounds where we've missed a stream for both tiers. It'd be absolutely brilliant, but we'll only have to wait and see. All the best wishes to Silent Pistol and to Adam Vora, and hopefully you'll get better soon. Thanks for listening, everybody, and tune in next week for our Brazil episode.